So Spin Master just randomly decided to go from kind of mediocre DC products to one of the most exciting lines ever, and that is their PlayStation line. And I've actually wanted a figure of Aloy for quite some time. I did buy a headcast once, and I got scammed. I paid the guy, and he straight up broke all contact with me and didn't respond to any messages, and I ended up losing about $100. So that sucks. But now I have an official version of Aloy, and I am very, very happy with her, especially with just how good her articulation is. Like, she has double jointed knees and just legs that move for days, and really, really nice ball joint here in the torso and torso hinge here. And then, unfortunately, she has single jointed elbows, but you know, I'll forgive that for now. The face is actually pretty fantastic. Like, the face printing is really, really good. She looks a lot better than some of the other figures I've seen in the line, like Kratos and Joel and Ellie. But there is one thing that kind of peeves me, and you can probably guess what that is. It's the side eye. I'm not a fan of the side eye in the slightest. So, fortunately, she does come with 5 extra faceplates. And you do have some options here if you want to try to fix the side eye. So, the first option is to simply repaint the eyes. I mean, it's certainly an option, but I want to do something extra. I want to put in some extra works. I have 2 ideas here. So the first one is this one. The only thing that kind of makes this not be a neutral face is the slant of the eyebrows and the wrinkles in her forehead. And then the second option is this head here, where I guess it's just a straight up neutrally sculpted face, but she has war paint on. So I'm gonna do some experimenting. I'm gonna see if I can convert this one or this one into a kind of neutral Aloy face. And I think I'm gonna start with this one here. So the first thing we have to do is we have to kind of get rid of the sculpt here, just like the furrowed brow. And for that, we're going to use some sandpaper, and we're going to start with a little bit of a rougher sandpaper, and then we're going to go into a very smooth sandpaper. And then we might do like a little bit of just like painting over this area, depending on how damaged this area turns out, but hopefully we don't have to. Because you see, sanding the plastic kind of makes it a little bit brighter, so that's why we might need to go in just like a very faint paint job, just to kind of tint the plastic a little bit. So I've gotten here, and I just want to kind of soften this like brow ridge here a little bit. So I brought out this sanding stick, and I believe I'm using the 240 side here, but it's already quite worn out, so it's not that effective anymore. But we're just gonna soften up this ridge a little bit, and slow and steady is definitely the way to go here. I don't know if you would think this is like a waste, but I would never have used this faceplate in the first place, because I don't really think, I don't know, the angry expression, I'm not a fan of it, so figured why not. I also like the eye placements a little bit more on this one than the one with the war paint, so ideally. Okay, so I removed most of the paint and some of the plastic to make her face a little bit more neutral. However, she does still have a couple of places where she has some shading, so I'm just using these Tamiya kind of like precision Q-tips to remove the rest of the shading. And these are really great because they get in everywhere without any overspill. You do still want to be careful about not accidentally land on the eyes though. There's still quite a lot of shadow in here, so she looks really like grumpy. We'll see what painting the eyebrows will do. This looks kind of alright. I'm not in love with it. Also, this eyebrow needs to be fixed a bit. Okay, so I'm not in love with this. I will just put the head on to see what it looks like. Okay, it doesn't look terrible. I still feel like the brow is a bit caveman-esque. It's just a little bit too low, like here. I might try to fine-tune it, but I also really want to try to simply remove the makeup on this one, because she already has the eyebrows painted in, and I would just have to apply some freckles and some the lips and some other things, and I think this could be a really interesting little job, so let's just go and do that. So this was actually my original plan here, so this is going to be really interesting how this turns out. Wow, this paint is on there strongly. Oh my, this is not coming off that well. I'm gonna try to use a magic eraser on it and see if that can like soften everything up a little bit, because this is not coming off. So I got a magic eraser here, and I'm just gonna try to keep scrubbing everything like so. So it came to my worst fear that I have to simply paint, and I don't like paint matching skin. It's one of my least favorite things to do when painting, so yeah, we're gonna try to do it as well as we can, and this is actually a pretty decent match already. So this is just Vallejo Game Color Pale Flesh mixed with Cadian Flesh Tone, my kind of bread and butter skin tone that works for pretty much everything. The only thing is that because of the face paint, the white is gonna look a lot brighter than the blue areas, which I am not very happy about, but hopefully with enough layers we can completely mask that. And this first layer is going to be very kind of speckly and badly covered, but hopefully as we get to like layer, say like 3, 4 maybe, it's going to look a lot better. And I want to try to keep the skin as kind of like smooth as possible, so that's why it's not covering extremely well, but hopefully it's gonna pay off in the long run. It is interesting to see like what the sculpt looks like underneath though. I think that's all right. We're gonna let this dry now. Okay, so I've gotten to a point where most of her face is covered. However, there was a thing where it was either where her like the white of the makeup was kind of raised, or it was just like I said earlier, that the paint reacts so differently to the lighter colors that there was like a noticeable line. And I sprayed some a sealer to try to get rid of that difference. So this is going to be hopefully the last layer of lighter skin tone. I might have to do one more layer, and I'm gonna do that off camera. So a little bit of an update. I kind of messed up the paint. I think it was a little bit too lumpy and there were too many layers. So I decided to try just ever so slightly sanding, and that actually did remove a lot of the face paint, but it's impossible to get in like the little crevices with any sort of like sanding tool. So yeah, I'm gonna try to redo this. I'm gonna base it in Cadian Flesh Tone this time. I'm not gonna go straight for the skin tone I want, so I'm gonna go with Cadian Flesh Tone. It's gonna make everything a little bit darker, and hopefully that's gonna be enough to mask the white parts. Okay, so no matter what I do, I kept seeing like this line here where the white was, so I resorted to just kind of scraping away everything with a knife very, very carefully and very, very gently, and it took ages. But hopefully now this will be, like there won't be any weird transitions in the paint. There's still a little bit of white left, but I'm just praying that it won't show up. So I've kind of locked down the skin tone for now. Before I go any further, I'm going to just paint in the eyebrows, because it's kind of hard to tell where you are when you only have the skin tone and no other features. So as soon as I add the lips and the eyebrows, I think we're gonna be in a lot better spot to kind of evaluate where we are. And my paint is really not working with me here. This looks to be a little bit too harsh of an angle, so I'm gonna go in with some skin tone and fix this arch. But I'm just kind of following the sculpt. So like, this eyebrow turned out perfect, and this one is just a little bit too wild, so we'll fix that. So it's time for the lips, and for this I'm using just the exact same mix I used for skin tone, but I added a little bit of red. And this does a lot to help with the whole contrast thing I was talking about earlier. So after a lot of work, this is what came out of this faceplate, and I absolutely hate it. It looks terrible. It kind of looks like, you know, there was like a story about a guy who was in love with a woman, and then she died, and he stole her body and tried to like keep it looking alive with makeup. This is kind of what that looks like. The texture on the skin is just crap, because I've been like trying to sand away this stupid face paint, and I damaged like a little piece here because I was just grinding acetone against under the eye to get rid of the white, and it just didn't work. So this just looks terrible. I hate it. And my first attempt by removing like the angry eyebrows also didn't work, because the brow is so furled that I can't really get rid of serious look. So I ended up simply readjusting the eyes of the default face. Before I start going on, this is recorded after I recorded all the initial footage, but I just ended up being so pissed off that I just failed with this head and this head that I just decided to paint up these eyes off camera, because this was like my last chance and I didn't want to mess it up at all. So yeah, sorry about that. This is probably one of the better eye jobs I've done. Everything turned out really nice and symmetrical and round and everything. I would prefer like a slightly more neutral face than a smirk, but you know what, it works, and this way I don't have to like worry about the skin tone and everything. And I know this video ended up being a whole lot of nothing, but it's also an experience for me, I guess, to let me know that sometimes I'm just not good enough for some of these ideas I have. So yeah, this is Aloy, and I am actually really happy with how the eyes turned out. There is a little bit of light reflection there, as you can see, that I painted in, and the eyes are a nice little yellowish green mixed with some brown, and then the pupils in the middle turned out to be nice and centered. So yeah, don't really have much else to say. She is pretty much just a stock figure with readjusted eyes, but yeah, sorry for the majority of this video being a complete waste of time, but hey, what can you do? I know there are some people who like seeing me include things when I straight up fail, and not everything goes to plan, because that's just what life is like, and you just have to sometimes compensate and sometimes try to think of something else. So yeah, regardless, hope you enjoyed the video.
Great. People finally stopped calling me outcast, and now it's savage. Time to submit to the inevitable silence and follow the person who actually knows what she's doing.